Hi there, this is my demo of Decal Pro FX. After you've printed out your graphics onto the blue water release paper, you are ready to start the process. So I'm going to isolate a graphic ready for hot foil transfer. After you cut your piece out, you'll need to remove any moisture with a hot air gun. Very important part of the process, because this enables the hot foil only to stick to the laser printed areas. Once you've removed all the moisture, you'll need to sandwich this between a carrier board and some thin baking paper is what I use. The thinner the paper the better, but baking paper works just fine. It allows the heat transfer from the rollers to go into the hot foil, and then for this to be transferred onto the laser printed area. White is probably the worst colour to use, or the most difficult to produce, because it acts more like a thick paint sooner than the hot foils or silvers. So once it comes out of the laminating machine, you'll find you'll need to cool it down before you try and separate the hot foil off the water release paper. So I just waft it around in the air to release some of that heat. Right, peel the hot foil back and you will have the graphics of the colour of your choice. What usually happens, you usually get a bit of white overrun, and this is easily removed with a bit of low tack masking tape. You don't need to press too hard, or else you'll start pulling it off the printed area slightly. Right, what we need to do now is to get the carrier film to stick. Now I use a solvent and I just let it evaporate. It must leave some sort of residue because it allows a little bit more stiction of the mylar carrier to stick to the graphic for when you immerse it in water, so that all the graphics don't just slide off. Right, so what I'm doing now, the solvent has dried. I'm now placing the mylar carrier over the graphic, and I'm going to sandwich this again with a carrier board and just some thin baking paper. Run this through the laminator. Yeah, I find wearing latex gloves really helps. It stops any moisture from your hands going onto the water release paper and causing you food problems. It doesn't do any harm to run this process through a couple of times. It just really forces that mylar carrier paper to sort of statically stick to the graphic. Now the next process is we're going to immerse this in water. Now my system varies slightly, is the fact that I sandwich it between two carrier boards. This stops the graphic from curling instantly and forming it to crack, and also allows a slower process, which I think works better. It sort of reduces the tension in the system. You'll see once the water starts to ingress between the two carrier boards. With a little bit of gradual teasing, you're able to get the graphic off one of the boards. Right, now we've got that board off, we'll just dry it off. It's all about preparation, this system. If you're very well prepared, you'll end up with some very good results. Right, while we're waiting for the water to soak into the water slide, we'll prepare a second graphic. So once again, heat it up, remove the moisture, next we'll get our hot foil paper and we'll cut a piece off and place it over it. Sandwich that between one carrier board and one baking paper. The paper is just a means of controlling it through the laminating machine. If you didn't have the paper, it would probably get wrapped up around the rollers and you'd never see it again. We'll just let that cool off. It usually comes out pretty hot. A little bit of low tack tape to remove the excess residue of the hot foil. Not too much pressure. Right, what I'm going to do is just show you one without heating it up. So all I'm going to do is just stick a bit of foil straight on. You think it's dry, but it isn't. So we'll sandwich that on the carrier board. Bit of thin paper over the top. And we'll run that through the laminator. Right, you look at this. The whole lot is white. Right, let's see how the graphic's doing. We'll just tease it off with a bit of water flow. Oh, there we go, the graphic's separated. Now by placing it on the towel, what I have is a plastic, this is part of the plastic bag carriers that come with the Decal Pro, and because there's a little bit of moisture still on the outside of the decal, I suppose capillary action will enable it to stick to the clear plastic sheet. So just make sure that the bottom of the graphic is dry, ready to apply the adhesive. So that's purely held on by a sort of moisture capillary action effect. Now what I've already cut in some bits of paper are sort of letterbox size holes, not to get any overspray onto the carrier paper, because we can keep using the large clear cellophane carrier paper for placing your decals. Right, so with the very fine contact adhesive applied, we can now go looking about placing the graphic onto the actual panel. It's very easy with this clear system. It keeps your hands well away from making a mess of everything. So once you're happy, press the middle and try and push outwards. We'll just take the large carrier cellophane off, and now I'm just working the decal, which is on its mylar carrier film. I'm just working the decal outwards. Right, once that's done, we can peel back the carrier paper. And there's the graphic, perfectly in place. Right, we'll just start the second graphic. So we want a carrier board. Oh, not happy with that one. So remove the moisture. So it's not a hairdryer, it's a heat gun. You won't be able to touch it. You'll need something to pin it down while you're removing the moisture. Some hot foil paper. Mylar carrier board. Well, I don't think it is, it's just a carrier board. Baking paper over the top to stabilise as you go through the laminator. Let it cool down. The laminating machine you need is the hottest one you could buy. It's the heat that is the key to it on the laminator. Now, fortunately, I got this kind of old-fashioned laminator. It's got a double roller system, and it's a real good hot one. Right, remove the excess with low tack tape. And we're ready for applying the solvent. Just remove a little bit of residue. I have used methylated spirits, but the methylated spirits isn't very good with the white. It's perfect for the silver, but the white, it sort of treats it a bit like it starts to dissolve the paint. So I'm just using a cyanocrylate activator solvent and let it evaporate. Place the hot foil on top, and then transfer it to your carrier board with the brown baking paper on it. But as I say, you could use a lot thinner paper if you can get hold of some, but I find the brown paper works fine. It's all about the heat transfer really as it goes through the laminator. When I start this process, I usually have the laminator on for probably half an hour, 40 minutes to get the whole machine warm. Right, now we've got the we need to sandwich that between two sheets so it doesn't curl. Watch for the ingress of water, try and coax it in. Sometimes it seals it that well to the carrier board that you think the water's not going to go in, but it does eventually. And again, this process is all about patience. Right, I've been able to slide it off the carrier boards. Get these prepared for the next go, so get them dried out. Just trying to tease the paper off without trying to tear it off. Right, place it so it's face up in the correct manner. That allows it to dry out. The cloth will dry at the back of the decal in preparation for the adhesive, and the front of the decal still retains a little bit of moisture for the carrier film. So you could sort of think that we've got two carrier films, one that's carrying the decal and the other film which is carrying the carrier film. I would say that I've probably got my workshop quite hot. It just keeps the moisture levels down. Elongating the slot in preparation for the adhesive. Now I'm going to lacquer all my instrument panels, so I'm not too worried about the excess of adhesive, because this will just get lacquered in and you won't never see it. You could go more sparingly with the contact adhesive. Again, placement very easy with this very clear carrier film, and this was once one of the packages for the water release paper. Right, remove the first carrier film and really push that graphic onto the instrument panel. Right, now we're ready to take the small carrier paper off. That's it. Well, I hope you enjoyed my little tutorial on Decal Pro FX.